Hello there and welcome to In My Opinion 4, Shantae and the 7 Sirens. We join our half-genie Shantae and her friends landing on Paradise Island for a long overdue vacation. Shantae has been invited to join other half-genies in a grand half-genie festival. However, during a big dance number, all but her are kidnapped and everyone starts to worry. So Shantae takes it upon herself to find and rescue her new friends. And along the way, she may also find out more about the ancient sunken city that lies below Paradise Island. The story here is another fun little adventure. Of course, what helps this be so entertaining is our lead Shantae and her friends such as Bolo, Sky, and her uncle. Everyone is just chock full of personality, and this goes for the new characters as well, such as the other half-genies who are a nice addition to the cast. The dialogue itself is pretty funny as well, especially when it comes to Squid Baron, who is always a treat to run into. Basically, if you like the stories from the past games, you will enjoy this one as well. And there is something in the game that hints to what the next game story will be about, and this has me very interested. This is a 2D action platformer with Metroidvania aspects to it, so there is plenty of backtracking. Besides that, as a platformer, you'll be jumping and whipping enemies with your mighty hair. As you make progress through the game, you also earn 4 genie powers and 5 animal forms. That will do things like help you tunnel through dirt, swim underwater, reveal secrets, cause earthquakes, and much more. While the animal forms don't take up magic, the other powers do, so you have to keep an eye on your meter, which can be fulfilled by item drops from enemies or breaking stuff. There's also a brand new mechanic in the card system, which when you kill enemies they might drop a card, and this card can give you passive abilities such as faster crawling or more damage, and you're allowed to equip at least 3 of them at a time. The gameplay itself is still stellar like the last game, as every time you move, jump, or attack, it feels nice and responsive. I also like how much an overall improvement the gameplay received here. For example, the new animal transformations actually feel really useful this time around, as each felt like it had a purpose in mind and you will be using all of these plenty of times. I also like that once you get a new form, it shows you what it can do, so it can click in your brain that, oh yeah, I could use this now to get here. The other powers you borrow from your half-genie friends also get a lot of use, like one that restores your health. What's pretty helpful is the game will let you know which of these borrowed powers will be useful in the area you go into, by showing a big old picture of the genie you got the power from. There is an option to turn off this hint system, but to be honest, I personally wouldn't do that, since having these hints stops you from using every single power over and over and over again each time you enter a new spot, which would turn what is a very fun experience to a tedious and boring one. The new card system itself is a pretty neat addition, and I like the fact that each card gives you a nice detailed look at the monster designs. Though I personally only found a handful to be useful out of the 50 cards you can collect, such as one that gives you more gems when they are dropped. Also, there are some cards that won't be activated until you get a certain amount of that card. But what's cool is the card will tell you its ability to see if you really want to keep killing the enemy, hoping the card drops again, since the drop rate is random. The game does have 3 different towns you can visit, each with their own colorful characters in them that you can interact with. I do like that each time you save another half-genie, the dialogue actually changes for these characters, which always makes me want to see what they have to say, since it can sometimes be funny. In these towns you have some shops. One is an item shop in which you can spend gems to buy stuff like health or MP potions to use, or most importantly, permanent upgrades for Shantae, such as fast hair whipping speed, and you can buy special magical attacks like missiles or even a bubble that protects you from all damage, which I found really helpful, though these, like the half-genie powers, do drain your magic, so keep your eye on that. The other is a heartsmith that will melt down all those cute squid hearts you've been gathering to permanently increase your heart amount. Also, if you're low on health and magic, you can go into a relaxing spa to refresh yourself. There's even a fun little minigame in Tree Town you can try out to get more gems and even a squid heart. You might have noticed that this entry has gone back to the more open world approach that other titles had before Half-Genie Hero. Now, I didn't hate Half-Genie's Hero level select approach, but I do prefer the more open take Shantae usually does. As you explore, the map will slowly reveal itself, and I have to say the map is a pretty good size. And there are even icons within the map you can always look at if you're wondering where stuff like safe spots and caves are. I found the safe spots themselves to be plentiful, which is a good thing since if you kick the bucket, that's where the game will pick up from, as there are no autosaves. Once you get your powers and forms, you might want to revisit some areas, like the caves which can contain things like squid hearts, and you also can find some gold nuggets which are needed if you want to get certain monster cards. And I do like that the game X's out the caves you already got stuff from, so you won't accidentally revisit the same one over and over. There are also plenty of teleporters you can find that you can use to backtrack quicker. The game does give you an option to turn on and off another hint system which shows a dot letting you know where you have to go next to proceed with the story. This one is not that big of an issue if you turn off like the other hint system I talked about, mainly because the characters do tend to tell you what to look for next in the general area it's in, so it wouldn't be too annoying if you want that little extra exploration challenge. I personally just left it on, but it's great the game gives you the option to handle it however you want to. Also, you don't have to worry about missing anything, as after beating the game, when you load up your save, it's always before the final boss, so you're allowed to go back and collect anything you're missing. Each zone on the map is separated by color, making navigation even friendlier, and they have a separate boss dungeon within them nicely labeled with a skull. These dungeons are really fun and puts those new powers and forms to good use as you explore them. And each boss dungeon also has 3 squid hearts, and the game shows you if you collected them all. I ain't gonna lie, I do wish that each zone on the overall map had the heart amount listed as well as the nuggets. Since I mentioned the boss dungeons, might as well talk about the boss fights, which are highly enjoyable and where the game can get a little challenging, as I did die during some of these battles, but it never felt cheap. The fights themselves even incorporate whatever new animal form you got in the dungeon, making the fights feel more different from one another. Even though I had this game on day 1, I never got around to playing it until now, which ended up being a good thing since the developers added a free update to the game which added some cool modes. First is the mode I played in, Definitive Mode, which balances out the game's challenge more, since I've heard before this update this game was easier, and I do have to say that this was a step up challenge wise compared to the last game. Also, some boss dialogue was added as well to give them more personality. Then you have Full Deck Mode, which unlocks all cards for you, Rule Breaker Mode, which lets you equip as many cards as you want, Beginner Mode, in which you can't die and you do insane damage, so it's for those who just want to experience the characters and story, and finally Legacy Mode, which reverts the game back to how it was in 2019. All the modes besides Legacy work in the Definitive Mode framework. I actually like all these extra modes since it lets you play how you want to, and if you're a trophy or achievement hunter, these modes don't stop you from getting them. Also, not many games out there let you play the game how it was before the updated version was released within the same game. When it comes to unlockables, after you beat the game you unlock a picture for the gallery, which is dependent on how fast you beat it and how much you collected. You can look at these pics whenever you want to in the gallery menu. You also unlock a hula outfit for Shantae, which spends less MP but you have lower defense, so if you want that extra challenge, there it is. In my eyes, this game looks gorgeous. I love its vibrant colors and fluid animation. They even added a special animation for when you pick Hula Shantae, which they didn't have to, so it's a nice extra touch. The world itself is rather diverse too, as each new area you find looks visually different, and it's not just a simple recolor. I also like that they added effects, be it form transformation, killing enemies, or using other half-genie powers. They even have nicely done full render character art just for those powers. As you can tell, the character designs are very anime influenced and they all look great, be it the new half genies, Shantae and friends, or the simple grunt characters. Bosses themselves also have impressive designs that add more personality to them. If you're wondering if there is still some cheesecake in this game, the answer is yes. I can also tell the budget was increased, as not only did we get a fully animated opening, but there are a few cutscenes throughout the game which look really good, and you can see these again whenever you want to in the main menu. All the other character interaction scenes are done with different character stills, which look great. Of course, we also got some voice acting here and there, and like the last entry, it's well done. I got no real negatives when it comes to tech issues, as the game runs silky smooth and I never ran into a bug. Yet another fine entry into the Shantae series, with a fun little story, entertaining cast, and a hint of something pretty cool for the next game. The gameplay is enjoyable and the improvements made over the last game are welcomed. It took me about 8 hours to beat, and that's with me searching and getting some of the squid hearts and nuggets along the way. Not a bad length for my book, and when it comes to replay value, you have the different modes you can play, collecting everything, the hula costume, and trying to get all the pictures. I will say if you're a Shantae fan or a fan of Metroidvania platformers, give this one a play, as it's ready to go. I hope you enjoy my thoughts on this game, and for gamers' sakes, keep gaming.